are most interested in our website. Just started the recording of the conference, and also in the YouTube channel of ECRN. Yes, the structure of the conference. After the introductory remarks, hopefully, of Minister Satin, when we will be able to let him connect, we will have a very short presentation by Monica of ECRN and this activity, but then we start with the real concrete part. Unfortunately, we have been told this morning that European Commission will not be able to attend because Ms. Ael is sick, and at the very last moment she hasn't been able to find a replacement. So that is important to know. It's unfortunate, but then fortunately we will have Mr. Panozzo from and the Committee of the Region, which will give us an overview of the situation in Europe, and we will have representative from regions in the Netherlands, in Belgium, giving us their point of view as regional authorities and what's going on, and with a focus on some specific aspect of the thematic, and then to finish the first panel, we will have the EU joint undertaking on circular bio-based, which is important because these public-private partnership, it is the future of the European development. Then we will pass after some questions, if you have, and there is the chat for writing down your questions. We will pass to concrete examples, concrete project. We will have 4 best practices or 4 presentation of best practices. Spanish, Polish, Italian, and Dutch project. So, what else to add? Now I'm a little short of, ideas or something to say. So probably I'd ask Monica if we can start with the video of ECRN. I apologize you. Ask you to apologize for this problem. I hope we can we can let him, the minister, as soon as possible, and that he will have the time to his introductory remarks. But I don't think we can wait furthermore. And so let's, Monica, please. I know you are busy in managing all this stuff, but if you can send the video and maybe give us up a date on the minister situation.
Yes, thank you, Volko. And I'm really sorry that we have this technical problems. Sometimes we cannot win with the technology, even if we use it for such a long time during the pandemic period. But sometimes we are, well, sometimes children in the fog. I want to briefly, in my presentation, focus on 2 issues. So first is the presentation of ECRN, and for that purpose we prepared a short video. But I want to start with something else, and let me share my screen. I hope you can see the full screen right now. So, yes, also for this conference, and I want to draw your attention to this fact, we also prepared a position paper regarding the waste shipment and management that presents our approach, the ECRN members' approach to the waste as a feedstock for circular economy. And to be honest, this document is the basis for this conference, and this event is also prepared just to also present this document. And in my short presentation, I want to give you a very brief overview. What are the main objectives if it comes to ECRN vision on waste shipment and management? Uh, this document, of course, can be found on our website, and it also will be circulated among all the participants after the conference, together with other presentations and with the recording of the video. So here you can see some bullet points, and we clustered our objectives under this four bullet points. So when it comes to the priorities about the circular economy and waste as a feedstock, so what is the most important for us from our perspective? We see the need to speed up the adoption and harmonization of the definitions and indicators for the feedstock in the circular economy, because it is really important to know what can be treated as waste and what waste can be treated as a feedstock for further production. We also see that it's need to provide our citizens with a clear and easy to navigate products labeling to let them know how they should manage their waste. Then, of course, the harmonization and simplification of administrative procedures. It's like another step we consider as one of the most important. And in this case, we see the huge potential in the digitalization of these administrative procedures. Another point is to ensure that circular business models are incentivized. And in this case, we want to focus especially on the small and medium-sized enterprises because they are the ones who are really dealing with the highest risk of the implementation of the new technologies. Also, we consider that the balanced tax regime regarding the waste is also one of the factors that can really influence the circular economy. And last but not least, it's the support provided for regions. And in this case, we consider that the special attention should be given to the regions that are front runners in the transition to the circular economy, because they put a lot of efforts and spend a lot of money to develop new technologies that can be easily replicated by others to limit the time and costs related to the implementation of these technologies in other regions. So here are the, let's say, bullet points. But if you want to know more, if you want to know details, I really encourage you to look at the whole document. This document was also uploaded for the Commission consultation on the environmental impact of waste management related to the revision of EU waste framework. So that's a comprehensive information about ECRN approach to the feedstock, to the waste as a feedstock for circular economy. So now I want, with any further delay, move to the presentation of ECRN as a network. And in this case, we prepared something that might be more interesting than the simple PowerPoint presentation. We prepared a short video. So right now I want to invite you to watch this short 2-minute video that presents the main objective goals and priorities of European Chemical Regions Network. So enjoy the watching.
The chemical industry plays a crucial role in enabling a carbon-neutral, resource-efficient, and circular society. As chemicals are present in 95% of products, improving the sustainability and safety of chemicals is indispensable to deliver the European Green Deal and build the competitive and sustainable economy of the future. The European Chemical Regions Network, ECRN, brings together European regions in which the chemical industry plays a crucial role in economic development, growth, and employment. Originally created as an EU Interreg project to facilitate interregional cooperation and share knowledge and solutions, today the network has grown to a recognized European chemical stakeholder. ECRN advocates for a stronger regional dimension in European strategies and policies related to the chemical industry. We believe that the chemical industry can effectively respond to Europe's societal challenges with sustainable and innovative solutions if its economic growth is linked to territorial development. ECRN participates in public consultation, elaborates joint positions, and represents regional interests at EU level, shares technical knowledge among regions and stakeholders, facilitates interregional cooperation by fostering collaborations among local authorities, gives support with European projects. Our vision is the creation of a Europe-wide network of chemical regions where competitive, sustainable, and innovative European chemical value chains are built on cooperation, sharing, and joint actions. Our policy priorities: plastics and chemical recycling. ECRN facilitate interregional cooperation to advance research and development of innovative solutions to halt plastics waste, and brings the latest innovative technologies developed in ECRN members' regions to the attention of the EU. ECRN raises awareness on the role of sustainable chemistry and regional bio-based production in the EU bioeconomy, which have enormous potentials to replace fossil fuels, reduce energy demand, pollution, and waste, while increasing the reuse and recyclability of materials and products. ECRN means increase regional dimension in the EU policy agenda, give single voice to the chemical region's interests, foster interregional cooperation, improve regional development strategies, create regional partnerships.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. So now I stop sharing the screen, and I think we can smoothly move to the next part. I see that we still have some problems with the minister's connection, so I would suggest simply to move to the first panelist, if you do not mind, Volker.
Okay, so let's start with the first panel, the role of region in supporting circular economy and chemical industries, challenges and expected legislative changes. We, as European Chemical Region Network, for sure are the voice of the regions, and that is why for us it's very important to have today in this panel Mr. Panozzo, which is who represent our let's say most important organization or institution more than organization here in Brussels, where we can louder the voice of the region, and then we will have, as I told you, two regional representatives, and then a public-private partnership, the joint undertaking. Because let me say why the regions are so important for two main reasons. The first one is that we are the nearest institution to the industries, to the researchers, to all the actors in the chemical sector. And the second one is that we are the one who can, on one side, implement the legislation directly, and on the other side, who can use in the best way the money for incentivize the development of the circular economy. So now I leave the floor to Mr. Panozzo to give us his presentation. Please, Stefano.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. Can you see me?
Not really for the moment.
Strange.
You are in the fog.
Yeah, there is still some weird issues with the video. Okay, I'll show.
Today is not our day with technical things. Absolutely.
I'll show my presentation in the meantime. So, can you see it?
It seems to be starting. Yes.
Perfect. So, thank you again for the invitation. As it was said, I work for the Secretariat of the Commission for Environment, Climate Change and Energy of the European Committee of the Regions. The Committee of the Regions is a EU consultative body that is composed by members elected at the local and regional level, for example, mayors, regional councillors, regional minister, presidents of province, that or appointed by one of these elected bodies, such as regional ministers and similar positions. The COR main role is to advise on the new EU laws that have an impact on regional cities, that are usually indicated as around 70% of all EU legislation. In the link below, you can see the website of the Committee of the Region. You can find more information on our activities. More in detail, this consultative role is mainly done through the publication of opinions. Opinions that are approved by the thematic commission, in this case for environment, and then later by the plenary session of the Committee of the Regions. In case of legislative opinion, they even include legislative amendment to the proposal of the European Commission. The latest, most important opinion on these topics are the three that I listed here. In 2020, an opinion on the new Circular Economy Action Plan by Mr. Stelstra from the Netherlands. Then in 2021, an opinion on the chemical strategy by Mr. Strudzik from Poland. And then finally, an opinion on the Zero Pollution Action Plan by Mrs. Schouten from the Netherlands. These rapporteurs are members of a committee that prepare the draft opinion, but afterwards is adopted by the whole Committee of the Region, representing all of them. As you, one second, sorry, some trouble with the link. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you. There is some little screen issues because we can see,
but you can hear me. Okay, perfect. So the first opinion on the new Circular Economy Action Plan raised already this issue because, as we said afterwards by the European Commission, I assume there is a strong connection of all the different priorities of the European Green Deal, and so circular economy and the chemics are related, even if normally the chemical strategy is considered part of the zero pollution ambition, is also connected with circular economy. The opinion of the Committee of the Region, in particular, welcomed the European Commission initiative to shift to a safe by design chemicals, working in this sense on prevention, on the prevention aspect. This is an important point that afterwards was reiterated by the following opinion. Another important issue that was raised was the fact that the committee called for the European Commission, the Member State and the local regional authorities to steer investment from the EU recovery plan to guarantee long-term economic, social and environmental progress while reducing resource use, avoiding and removing hazardous substances, and improving circularity of materials and systems. This aspect was much more detailed in the opinion on chemical strategy approved in 2021, that included many elements connected with these topics. I will try to mention just some key ones, but I would advise to read the whole text because there are many aspects that could be of interest. As a general point, the opinion reiterated the fact that it's very important the role of local and regional authorities in the chemical strategy and in connection with meeting the ambition of the circular economy. In particular, it proposed to involve local and regional authorities in the definition.
Stefano, we do not see anymore your presentation.
Yes, I will try to reiterate, repeat it, but in the meantime, I will go on speaking. In the meantime, I'll try to see if it can be revised. But in any case, this should be stopped at the main slide on opinion. And then it would involve the local and regional authorities in the definition and implementation of the plans, of the national recovery and resilience plans, and also to grant them direct access to EU funding. Furthermore, we need to involve the local and regional authorities to deal with the problem that they face concretely on the ground, such as legal, financial, and technical barriers that they face every day, and they can, of course, provide information on how to face them while preparing these strategies. In this sense, the committee called for a clear and coherent policy to ensure at both local and regional and global levels the tools and resources to promote a circular industry, from designing solutions to implementing sustainable production, distribution, use, recycling, recovery, and disposal of chemicals. In fact, local and regional authorities in many member states have the responsibility of waste management, so they are clearly involved in seeing what are the aspects, and if there is not an efficient policy, the local and regional authorities are the ones that have to deal with the consequences in terms of waste management. So for this reason, the committee proposed to enable the safe use of dangerous substances through the whole life cycle, ensuring that they are properly managed as waste once they are no longer in use. In this sense, you mentioned in the introduction to the panel about the future challenges of the EU legislation that is incoming. The committee underlined that it is necessary to review and strengthen the REACH and CLP regulations and their interface with the occupational safety health legislation, and also to simplify procedures connected with this. In particular, the committee points out the need to tighten up the REACH regulation in terms of requirement for safe use of recovered substances placed on the market. These issues are strongly connected with the overall concept of production. And the Committee of the Region supported the implementation of the concept of sustainability starting from the design stage, underlining the product made from sustainable substances should be fully recyclable so as to provide a safe raw material for further production. The manufacturing process is directly linked and inextricably linked to the process of product design and development. So it's necessary that the implementation of a chemical strategy should be connected to a larger extent on achieving the objective of circular economy. The chemical recycling represents an opportunity for the chemical sector as it helps reducing the environmental impact and leading to the discovery of innovative solutions for the use of recycled materials in products, as well as enabling the production of high quality of recyclable materials. Finally, this you mentioned also the issue of upskilling and reskilling. This is also an element that has been reiterated by the Committee of the Regions. We need support from the EU funding for upskilling and reskilling of workers involved in chemical production, creating also economic opportunities while fostering social justice and resilience, especially in the most vulnerable regions. These issues were reiterated quite a lot in the opinion adopted a few months ago on the Zero Pollution Action Plan. There is a full section on hazardous substances, indicating that the EU should regulate the chemical substances based on their intrinsic harmful properties to humans and their environment, even in case of scientific uncertainty. And it considered the REACH regulations to be a key instrument, and its authorization and restriction process should be used more. These opinions are all available on our website, and beyond this, one second, beyond these opinions, you can find many more activities in the website of the Commission for Environment, Climate Change and Energy of the Committee of the Regions, and in the website of the Green Deal Going Local Working Group, a webpage of our campaign to connect the Green Deal activities to the local and regional authorities. You mentioned earlier best practices. is there a map of best practices at local level that can be seen and that can be disseminated. Furthermore, the Committee of Regions has set up and is now co-chairing the new Zero Pollution Stakeholder Platform. You can find a website that has been set up by the European Commission. We set up also a web page with the local regional aspects. I will try to show it in in this. No, I cannot reach it. But you can find the link that I'm showing here. And this is a platform that tries to put together all the different stakeholders, including the local and regional authorities that can contribute to the implementation of a Zero Pollution Action Plan. Next week, there will be the second meeting of the platform hosted by the Committee of the Regions, and there will be new information and future activities. There are many other activities in which a region can cooperate to promote circularity in and cooperation and dissemination of best practices in terms of hazardous waste and chemicals. There are opportunities with the TIEX peer-to-peer tool to connect and exchange best practices. There are many other opportunities that we try to promote as Committee of the Regions. But I would like to highlight the European Week for Waste Reduction. That we are in the steering committee of this week as a Committee of the Regions. There is 1 week every year to promote waste reduction. In 2018, the focus was exactly hazardous waste, so of great importance for the chemical aspect. This year, the week will be most likely on the topic of the sustainable textile. Will be in November, but in June there will be the award for the activity of the last year week of waste reduction. And thank you very much for your attention, and sorry for some small technical difficulties with the presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Stefano. I hope we will have questions for the end of the panel. Just a couple of things coming to my mind thanks to your presentation. The first is that 2 out of the 3 opinions you mentioned were made by 2 members of ECRN, Mr. Stelpstra from Drenthe and Marshall Struschik from Basovia region. So that is interesting and important. And then you just mentioned that the next European Week for Waste Reduction will be on textile. Textile, as all of you knows, has a very strong relations with chemistry, because textile industry is one of the most concerned, we should say. I would have said affected, but I would like to be positive by the REACH directive. All the sector is strictly linked to these, and that is very important. And I think this is something about simplification and the new and the evolution of legislation we have to tackle in order to make life easier for our industries while keeping the safety of our citizens. Now we pass from the big frame that Committee of the Region provide us to a more vertical topics and that the regions deal with. And I would like to give the floor to Miss Jolanda Schmal from the province of North Holland. And I've been very intrigued by your presentation. I saw it yesterday, and so I'm looking for hear from her in more detail. Please, Jolanda.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Let's see if my presentation is working.
We can see you and the presentation. First technical thing that goes perfect today.
Although not in my screen. Let me see, because I have a double screen, so I need to show you it this way. Otherwise, I don't have my second screen. So still some technical difficulties, but I guess this is okay to view as well, right?
Yep.
Good. Well, thank you for the introduction and many thanks for the invitation to present this story. I'm Jolanda Schmal, Policy Advisor for European Affairs and Circular Economy at the Province of North Holland. And I'm here today to discuss an innovative way to fund the circular economy, which requires, in our view, a crucial system change. But first, let me have a quick look at how we work together as 12 Dutch provinces, because we created a circular economy power map, which is a joint position paper in which we describe our joint lobbying messages regarding the circular economy. And today I will focus on one particular topic highlighted in the power map. It's about funding the circular economy. You won't be able to find it in this slide. It's too small, but I assure you it's there. But today I'm sharing a proposal or presenting a story about a bold plan for a complete system change, which we believe is needed and crucial and absolutely necessary to achieve the goals set out in the EU Circular Economy Action Plan. And the proposal I'd like to introduce today is about a new way of thinking and about creating a level playing field for the circular economy. Because our current linear economy causes biodiversity loss, environmental pollution like plastic soup and climate change. And these so-called externalities are not reflected in the price of products. But this, of course, does not mean these externalities are free. We are currently paying for them through polluted rivers and flooded towns and health issues, etc. So a circular economy offers the solution, but the transition is stumbling because circular products are more expensive because the actual true price is paid. So my story today is about a level playing field. It's about rethinking our tax system, which is perhaps a bit of a jump, but let me shortly explain. And don't worry, I won't dive into 8,000 years of weird and wonderful taxes. And I know taxes is not a topic anyone ever gets excited about, but we believe we need to rethink our current tax systems because the current tax system facilitates a linear economy and in fact obstructs a level playing field for a circular economy. And as a province, and actually all of the Dutch 12 provinces, as shown earlier in the power map, we therefore endorse and support the X-Tax approach. And the X-Tax approach offers evidence-based proposals for a complete system change, because taxes are wonderful and they will save our planet. It might be unbelievable, but it's true. Taxes are a strong, wonderful, democratic redistribution mechanism if we apply it more intelligently. Because current taxes on raw materials and pollutions are low and sometimes even subsidized, making it cheap to make new products. And at the same time, tax on labor is relatively high, making all kinds of labor-intensive work and circular processes expensive, like repair and refurbishments. So this means taxes are now aligned with the linear take, make, waste economic model. And a tax shift from labor to resources and pollution can drastically reduce CO2 emissions and ultimately help save the planet. So X-Tax is an independent think tank, and it is supported by leading accountancy firms like KPMG and Deloitte, Ernst & Young and PricewaterhouseCoopers. And they have been working on it for years, and a specific X-Tax study was presented to our state secretary last year. And the study shows a scenario with 20 steps to gradually turn taxes into a basis for circular growth rather than a barrier. And the effect of these measures have been calculated by the British agency Cambridge Econometrics, which is a renowned knowledge partner of the European Union. And as a region, our goal is to increase social and political support for this tax shift, both on a regional, national and EU level, because even though taxes, of course, are a national competence, an EU-wide approach is needed to avoid border effects and optimize the effectiveness of these measures. And that's why it's actually also relevant to mention that we have tabled these X-Tax proposals during the last COTER meeting of the Committee of the Regions. COTER is a committee about the territorial cohesion and EU budget. And on April 7th, we tabled these proposals in a meeting dedicated to the next generation of own resources for the EU budget. So it's not about more taxes, it's about more intelligent taxes. And the architecture of modern European tax systems stems from a time when globalization hadn't yet materialized and jobs couldn't be moved around the globe. In the past, labor provided quite a stable and reliable source of income for governments, and natural resources seemed available indefinitely, and the linear take, make, waste consumption model didn't yet show its harmful effects. But of course, times have changed, and the environmental and social megatrends underline the need for EU member states to move towards inclusive, circular economies that provide meaningful employment while making clever use of natural resources. In fact, manufacturers now have an interest in designing their products in such a way that they wear out relatively quickly, and this maintains the cycle of high consumption and mass production. So it's in fact a world upside down. Resource depletion is more attractive than utilizing labor. And our goal is to increase support for this X-Tax approach and for a system change and a fundamental tax shift. And it's not just all the Dutch provinces who support this tax shift, because in fact, there's been quite some studies done on the impact on businesses, and there have been pilots to measure the effects. And currently, 460 construction companies have already signed a manifest calling the Dutch government to rethink taxes and shift taxes from labor to resources. So in a bit more detail, the X-Tax approach has developed a policy toolkit to illustrate the ways revenues could be used. So for this research, more than 250 policy options were analyzed, and the focus is on generic measures. So first of all, an inventory was made of potential tax bases and provides an overview of options for the tax shift principles, the so-called buttons which government can push or turn. And the study identifies potential tax options for taxing consumption, pollution, and consumption of natural resources, so the revenue side. And secondly, the inventory was made with regard to potential use of these new tax revenues. And it's good to keep in mind that there's two general objectives. One, social equality, so all measures should be fair and social with adequate protection for vulnerable groups. And secondly, sustainability, so the set of measures must contribute to achieving the international goals in the field of circular economy, like the SDGs and the Paris Agreement. So taxes can help ensure that pricing of products and services reflect their external costs, as I mentioned earlier, so that the sustainable products will no longer be the more expensive option. So in short, it's about taxing resources and not labor. And this was my short introduction. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Yolanda. That is, as I thought, very interesting and new approach. While you were talking, it came to my mind that, let's say, your proposal, your approach is to change the behavior from a boomer behavior, as I am, to a millennial behavior. That's the change of mind. It comes to my mind.
Very well
And
put.
and let's see, I'm pretty sure that after the next two presentation, we will have a couple of questions from the audience for you. So now let's cross the border from the Netherlands to Flanders. Let's give the floor to Mr. Lieventop from the Flemish region, also I should say, old member of ECRN. Please, Lieven, I'll leave you the floor. We see you, we don't hear you.
Okay, do you hear me already?
Now we can hear you and see the slide.
Okay, you can also hear me? Okay, fine. Thank you. Yes, thank you for the invitation to speak during this conference of ECRN with the on itself challenging title, Waste as a Feedstock for the Circular Economy. Challenges ahead. When I was preparing this, I was thinking which angle is usable or is useful, and starting from the point to which kind of barriers do we run into as a region or as a member state. Okay. Do you see the second slide? Yes. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you. So one of the things that we observe is that the specific topic of waste and circular economy is, let's say, that's one element or one pillar, if you could say. To use a bit more helicopter view, I thought to use this kind of angle. So when you're a chemical company or a chemical region, like for example Flanders and many others in Europe, you first of all we are confronted with at the same time with, let's say, different European objectives. Few categories. You have green objectives, including climate, energy, environment, health and safety, and circularity. Side of the green objectives, you have digital objectives, and you have resilience objectives. Resilience, for example, do you have still enough supply of certain chemical substances? You still have enough energy in a stable way. Just to give, and each of those, for example, each of those green objectives have on itself, under itself, many sub-objectives. Now, just to give a first little illustration about the complexity for chemical industry and chemical regions. Now, one recent example, which is still being prepared, is called the Transition Pathway Chemicals. That's an initiative of the European Commission trying to, let's say, bundle all those different objectives and perspectives towards which direction the industry has to go or can go. Of course, each path can be chosen. So these are the objectives. The next level, just to illustrate the complexity, the next level are the initiatives to make clear what objectives are. I have a list of initiatives which are all impacting chemical industry at the moment. I will not read them all. I just have put in yellow color a few which are, let's say, closely connected to the topic of today. Waste and circular economy. What do we see? The chemical strategy for sustainability towards toxic-free environment, the landfill directive, the packaging and packaging waste directive, the single-use plastic directive, the waste framework directive, and the pathway to a healthy planet towards zero pollution for air, water, and soil. The other ones, for example, EU taxonomy will be, of course, crucial for investment funds. Just to illustrate that all those specific initiatives, a number of them are law, have legislative power, but at the same time having an impact on regional level, but also on individual companies. So those were initiatives. And these are, just to give another example, additional policy initiatives, you can call them, to have that have an impact on the sector's twin transition. Also here, a few in yellow, the revision of REACH, the Sustainable Product Initiative, the Bioeconomy Strategy and Bioeconomy Action Plan, and the Circular Economy and Action Plan. A few others, just as information where all those companies were confronted at the same time. Go more lower level, the specific initiatives for the first half of this year. And the Commission had a package of circular economy in the month of March, and the second one is coming in July. Here we have the Sustainable Product Policy Initiative and the review of the construction product regulation, the strategy on sustainable textiles, which was also mentioned by Mr. Palazzo, and empowering consumers. This package is already online, you could say, and then we have the package in July, which is coming about the policy framework for bio-based, biodegradable and compostable plastics, the review of packaging and packaging waste directive, and the review of the urban wastewater treatment directive. Those are, let's say, that's a whole list. I will not list. We will not talk about all of them, of course, but it illustrates the complexity where industry and companies are confronted, and also the level of regions or member states who have to make indeed opinions or have to take positions about all these different items. So one of the, let's say, challenges, if I may call it challenge, is to have a kind of good governance from a point of a region, even when you're, let's say, a region which is well organized, who has a number of experts available or a number of diplomats. It's still an enormous task to follow or to handle in a sufficient, in a limited time frame, all those different initiatives. Of course, we do that effort. We try, of course, to work together with other regions who have the same objective. For example, we are a member, aside of ECRN, we are also a member of the trilateral chemical strategy between Flanders, North Rhine-Westphalia, and the Netherlands, where we also try to sometimes, about very specific European dossiers, try to have common positions. All those, that range of objectives and initiatives, if we could summarize it, it's in fact one triangle, which is where we need to find always a balance between circularity, climate, energy, and health and safety. I use the word triangle also because a triangle is difficult to keep in balance, and that's also one of the problems, and that's why we try to translate it in a basic principle. That is the compatibility between sometimes competing objectives and initiatives. In those very long lists of objectives and initiatives, which have all, of course, their own value and which are important. It's, of course, you have, of course, the risk, aside of complexity, of course, of sometimes objectives or rules which are not very well compatible, or sometimes counterproductive, or sometimes hindering each other. That's something which there are a number of examples. For example, the competition between climate objectives and energy efficiency objectives. So one of the approaches, therefore, I'm sure that European Commission understands also that element of that problematic angle. One approach is to have that companies and also regions find important, I think, specifically regions, clarity and predictability before and after. That means before the legislation is decided. That means during the whole preparation process, which can take years, sometimes including impact assessments, including consultations, and then afterwards, after the decision by the Council, European Parliament, the rolling out and the practical implementation, you could say, in daily life, and the clarity and the predictability, which, or let's say, kind of principles which we was asked to have a kind of permanent, to put in almost in concrete, aside of then the, let's say, permanent need for that attention for compatibility, the enforcement EU-wide. So if rules have been decided, very clear rules preferably, then they have to be enforced in the same way between different member states, which is not only for this topic, but also for other topics, a task of the member states and the European Commission, because we are in one market, one internal market, but also here you have the link with import, for example, sometimes a large import of certain substances, chemical substances, where you have who officially, of course, need to follow, for example, safety and health rules. There's one thing between the law, the official law, and then the practical control and enforcement at the borders. That's also not only for the safety and health of the consumers, but also for a reason of, let's say, dishonest competition. That's a crucial point for us, and that's enforcement at the borders. And the last point then about international worldwide context, aside of the very concrete, let's say, very horrible situation where also focal to referred, which at the moment causes shocks. We have also in general, of, let's say, permanent, we find it important that on the European level, that international context and is, let's say, integrated more. And I want to say, for example, on the level of competitiveness, like I mentioned, companies are in a permanent competition between not only for the export or the sale of products, but also important to attract investments inside Europe or outside Europe, and also about, let's say, putting standards and putting norms. It's indeed important that we have the different directives, different action plans about, for example, safety, about healthy, about zero pollution. The objective should also be that we try to, via international negotiation, via international institutions, that we do an effort or a bigger effort to try to promote those standards so that the European standards become world standards. That's let's say good not only that's good for chemical regions, for chemical companies, but also for the consumers. Not only in Europe, we think, but also worldwide. So I will leave it to this focal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lieven. As always, you have been crystal clear, and you gave us a shot of what the European Union is doing, but the feeling also, which is the most important part of regional governments. I totally agree when you underline that we need one side. That is my interpretation of what you said. We need one side, more Europe, but we need more coherence from the European institutions, in particular European Commission. Not always different legislative act of the European, let's say, European Commission are coherent among themselves. And so we as a region have big problems. We have to struggle to implement them, to adopt them, to make them compatible with what's going on in our territories for our industries or universities or anyway our stakeholders. So thank you very much. It's very interesting and important.
Thank you.
Now let's pass to what I think could be the bridge between this public part and the next part, which will be the private part. Miss Luisa Machia from the Circular Bio-based Joint Undertaking. She will tell us what's going on from their point of view in this moment. Thank you, Luisa.
sorry, I have the same, good morning, everyone. I have the same issue, I think, as the previous speaker about the two screens. I don't manage to share on the screen, which I would like to, but let me retry. Just 1 second. Okay, let's see if it works now. Does it work now?
Yep, we see
Okay.
you and the presentation.
Okay, good. So thank you for the introduction and good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here. I'm Lisa Masha. I'm a project officer at the Circular Biobase Europe joint undertaking. We're not involved in legislative work, but as it was suggested, we're bridging a little bit between the first and second panel. So who we are, I will just share a few words on who we are and what we do. Mostly we're a funding instrument, and then a couple of examples from our portfolio of projects which focus strictly on using waste as a feedstock, which I believe is within the scope of the conference. So the Circular Biobase Europe joint undertaking is a public-private partnership between the European Commission, representing the public side, and the Biobase Industry Consortium, also known as BIC, which represent the private side. We are a 7-year initiative running until 2027 and worth 2 billion euros. And we operate under Horizon Europe, which I guess most of you know is the new EU framework for research and innovation. The CBJU entered into force in December 2021. However, we're not at all new, as we're building on the successes of our predecessor that some of you may have known as BPIJU, Biobase Industry Consortium Joint Undertaking, which ran for the past 7 years under Horizon 2020. In terms of our structure, as you can see on the right side of the slide, we have a board where the private and public parties sit equally. The executive director and a program office of which I'm part. And then there are two advisory bodies, one composed of state representatives, member states and associated countries, and the other one made of independent scientific experts. They both advise on program and priorities. Our objectives are threefold. First of all, to accelerate the development of bio-based innovative solutions, and second, for those solutions that are mature enough, speed up their market deployment and uptake, and thirdly, doing this while ensuring a high level of environmental performance of the system. I'd like to make a step back to a few years ago to show you why this initiative was needed and what's the concept as you see it on the screen. So there was a lot of, this is how it looked like almost a decade ago. So we had a lot of biomass and waste out there, which had the potential to be turned and transformed in added value products, building blocks via the processing and the transformation happening in bioeconomies. However, we had a big challenge, and this was the innovation and deployment gap, which needed to be filled. So the BPIJU at the time tried to ensure that the research knowledge on the one end of the bridge would be translated into concrete bio-based products at the other end of the bridge. And this was done in different phases because as you may have heard before, the bio-based sector, it is a very different sector, diverse sector, including different industry, agri-food, chemicals, pulp and paper. And there was at the beginning the need to de-risk the investment and extend infrastructure across the different sectors of the economy. And BPIJU intervened in what seemed to be highly risky initiatives. Secondly, to really mobilize and interconnect actors in sectors which had not necessarily worked together before and bring the critical mass on board. And thirdly, structure the sector. So build and organize the value chain across the industries, and then realize what you see here, a more connected bio-based economy, which would go from the field to the end consumer. So this is in picture, in a nutshell, how we were born and how we operated over the past 7 years. And in terms of numbers, let's say in 7 years, which is what BPIJU achieved until 2021, the funding spent were about more than 800 million euros for 142 projects, covering, benefiting more than 1,000 beneficiaries and spread across 39 countries. As you see in the middle of the slide, the pie, the share of the funding, the biggest share of the funding went to private companies, and among which a big share went to the small and medium-sized enterprises, and the rest to university and research centers. In terms of the type of actions we fund, we have research and innovation actions, the so-called RIA, and then innovation actions, each covering different TRLs, with innovation actions going up to TRL 8. And then we have more cross-cutting actions called the CSAs, the coordination and support actions, which are not connected to any TRL. To give you an idea of where our plans are based in Europe, this shows quite an even spread across Europe, as you see the green and orange icons. And also, what I was mentioning before, we had to build a bit the sector. So the mobilization is still increasing, has been increasing steadily since 2014, when we had our first call for proposals. There were 39 proposals submitted, and there were 229 in 2020, which was our last call. And this is the spread across Europe. We also have a growing diversification and new sector joining. I mentioned earlier that there are different sectors involved. So packaging, food, chemical industry are at the top of the list, but there are many more involved, like feed, bioplastic, textile, automotive, medical devices. So it is really increasing in type and in numbers. That's in a nutshell who we are. Then I just wanted to share with you a couple of examples of waste-related projects that we have in our portfolio. We have several. I picked a couple of them. One is called the Circular Biocarbon, which aims at turning urban waste streams into value-added products. And as some of you may be familiar with the Eurostat figures, so in 2019, each European citizen still generated around 502 kilos of urban solid waste. And the predominant treatment strategies in Europe are still burning up and burning, whilst the urban solid waste still contains a large organic fraction that can be valorized. And that's the solution that Circular Biocarbon would like to offer. As you see in the picture, they are taking the carbon feedstock from the city and the sewage sludge. They're treating it in the first-of-a-kind biorefinery that they're building and operating. This feedstock is transformed into intermediate building blocks and bio-based materials, which are in turn transformed in value-added products like night vision cameras, mulch film for agriculture, and other that you see in the picture. One thing which is interesting is the local impacts that they're aiming at, because the biorefinery they're operating has a high replicability. So basically all the innovation that they are testing and implementing during the project will be shared with cities and regions in Europe, and they've already started doing so in different cities in Spain, France, and Portugal. Also, how do they involve the regions and the cities? They, in their communication and dissemination strategies, they're putting a very strong emphasis on reaching out to I'm reaching out to regional and national waste management companies. So in sum, they'd like to become a real flagship platform to have other cities and operators in the waste management sector to follow possibly this model. So to give you an idea of the consortium, here you see where they are geographically, and there are 11 companies divided among large companies, SMEs and RTOs. And we contribute to this project with almost 15 million euros. Another example is called Embrace. They are aiming at, let's say, fixing the nappies dilemma, and not only nappies, but in general absorbent hygiene products, AHP, that represent up to 4% of the total municipal solid waste, and again, end up in landfill or incinerator. So what they're trying to do is, again, valorize the organic fraction of those products and to transform them into high-value bio-based polymers, plastic bins and detergent cups, fertilizers, among others. So again, a balanced consortium geographically and in terms of companies involved, and a BBI-JU contribution of 10 million euros. So I presented mostly what were the BBI achievements, and those projects are still under BBI-JU, and the reason is that CBE-JU, having started in December 2021, has not launched yet its first call for proposals. But if those type of initiatives are appealing, if what you heard sounded appealing to you, stay tuned, as we are launching our proposal really in the next months, quarter 3 2022 being the latest. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Luisa. It's always interesting to hear concrete actions made thanks to the European Union funds and these public-private partnership. I'm quite old here in Brussels, and when European Commission started with the proposal of these joint undertaking, not everybody understood the potential of these, and now it is one of the most successful instruments and tools of the European Commission to let reality the policy ideas. So thank you very much. Now we have finished the first panel with some 40 minutes or 50 more delay. I asked to all the attendees if they have a question for our panelists, and I give you some minutes asking one question to Ms. Schmoll, because I would like to know what is her idea about these, let's say, is it fair, in your opinion, to shift the tax burden? And I imagine yes, because it's at the basis of your proposal. But and then which is the position, in your opinion, of the business about that? Is there because we are public authorities, you represent the public authorities, but one of our stakeholders are business of our territories. So I imagine you have studied these two sides of the problem. Can you give us some more info about that?
Yes, of course. Thank you for the question. And indeed, construction companies, as I mentioned, have already signed a manifest stating that it would be sensible to shift the tax from labor to resources. So that's quite a sound and powerful message from the business point of view. And an often heard worry is that environmental taxes could increase income inequality, like they would hit low income households for instance, more as they pay a higher share of their income towards energy and intensive goods. But the World Bank notes, however, that it is possible to prevent taxes from increasing income inequality if the revenues are used to benefit the poorest population. And there are, of course, many policy options available to alleviate the impacts on specific households and compensating retired pensioners, for instance, or so benefits can take the form of a fair system, and you could work with exemptions and deductions. And in some countries, actually, cash transfers are already put in place. In Canada, they have quite an interesting system to promote careful taxing systems. So careful design and implementation can alleviate many, and if not all, concerns about discriminatory effects. And businesses, large and small, in every sector have, as you know, started to explore innovative circular business opportunities. And that includes recycling and repair and maintenance and redesigning of products, all which costs a lot of more labor. And the required innovation and customization requires more personal attention and customer services. So when pollution and primary resources are tax-free and labor costs are high, entrepreneurs and businesses will face quite some barriers to turn their business into a circular activities. So there are ways and there are testimonies about how this would actually work. I won't dive too deep into the question since we are short for time, but I hope that answers some of it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Yolanda. If I may, starting from an exchange between you and Mattia in the chat, I would like to ask Stefano Panozzo a very, very short question. The exchange, if you have not seen, is that Mattia Adani, which will speak in the next session, an Italian entrepreneur, was loved the idea of these X tax and asking how to spread the words. And so I would like to ask Stefano if the Committee of the Region could be a place, or a place where we can spread the words and do something in order to go deepen and widener on this proposal of our colleague from the North Holland. Stefano.
Thank you. I think I was able to access the video.
Oh, now we can see you.
Yes, thank you. And on this, specifically the issue of the tax shift and in general a fiscal aspect of chemical industry is not present in the position of the committee, the opinion that the Committee of the Region has approved. There are multiple elements connected with a wider issue about funding, explaining that the need for funding and the need for local regional authorities to access direct EU funding and participating in the planning and implementation of the national recovery plans. But specifically, this issue of tax shifts was not included in this text. I will ask about it also to my colleagues of the Commission for Territorial Cohesion that they deal with more directly with the EU budgetary policy, and they might have some more information about this. And if you want, we'll be in contact about this element. But at the moment, I don't have a position of a committee on this aspect to report. In general, when there will be future proposal also on the multiple legislative proposals that are upcoming, that have been mentioned earlier in the presentation from the Flanders regions, you will be able to see if the Committee of Regions does or not an opinion. You will be able to contribute to this opinion. Usually, we always do a stakeholder consultation in which stakeholders can participate and provide their input and suggestion of this kind, and then suggest to members from your own region to propose amendments on the specific topics. So there will be a channel to add these proposals for future files. I hope this is helpful.
Yeah, thank you. We indeed already presented and tabled these proposals during the last COTER committee meeting on the 7th of April. So it has been tabled, and we will indeed look to be able to supply amendments 2 weeks in advance of the paper. And our region is also a member of the CPMR North Sea Commission, which includes the region that Tjisse Stijlstra, who has written the opinion on the Circular Action Plan, has already included some text about the need for tax reform. And together with the CPMR North Sea Commission, we are going to present it during the annual business meeting on the 23rd of May. We will present the X-Tex proposals and hopefully agree to start writing a resolution so that all regions of the CPMR North Sea Commission support this proposal and help to further this development as well in the Committee of the Regions as in the CPMR North Sea Commission, and help to start a debate and continue this discussion. And the X-Tex proposals will have a new EU study presented in the EU Green Week by the end of May. So that will be a new highlight as well. So thank you, Stefano. That is really good to know that you will consider it and be in touch with the other committee, the COTER committee.
It's of course I work for the secretariat, so it's the politicians that consider this kind of issues. I will tell about the COTER Commission colleagues that you raised this point, so they can be aware of the connection between the two issues in this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you to both of you, and Yolanda, feel free to use ECRN as a platform to spread out your proposal. We are ready to collaborate with you on these.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So I don't see any other question for the moment. Let's jump on the second part of this interesting conference. As I said before, the private part. We will start. We will have some best practices around Europe, and now I give the floor to Maria Dolores Núñez from Catalonia, Acció, and she will tell us about some interesting Catalan project. Please.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Folco. Thank you very much for inviting us to participate in this conference. My name is Maria Dolores Núñez, and I work in Acció. Acció is the competitive agency of the government of Catalonia, and now I am in charge for analysis opportunities, for technological analysis opportunities. It's well known that green transformation is one of the major challenges and also a necessity to adapt and mitigate the effects of the climate change and to fit the objectives of the 2030 agenda. The decarbonization of the economy, the transition to renewable energies, minimization of waste, the modernization of industry already appears in some political agendas, and now also are being to form part in citizen talks. The European Union will lead this way with the publication of the Green Deal in 2019, aiming to be the first climate change neutral climate change in 2050, and the deployment of different strategies and proposal to adapt the EU policies on climate, energy, transportation, and taxation. The extraordinary Next Generation program also intends to transform the economy by making it more green and digital and more resilient. In Catalonia, we also include this challenge and recommendation into a series of policies and strategy. And among then we can highlight the circular and green economy with the aim of align the government competitiveness strategy to European Union to ensure the coherence and visibility through the different government department, and also to establish priorities for future action. Um, another strategy important is the Catalan strategy for eco design. As we said before, in the design phase, we jeopardize the most of the resources, the product life, and the processes that they are involved. And for this reason, include sustainable criteria into the same design phase, into the same phase, is so important to reduce the consumption of raw material and also minimizing waste and emission. Another strategy we can highlight is the new strategy for bioeconomy in Catalonia, and this is a roadmap for transition towards an economic model based on optimal and renewable energy. Among these strategies, we have some instruments that help us to improve and implement some action projects and good practices. We can highlight the waste cluster. It's a joint initiative of the Catalan Waste Agency and Nexio, and bring together all the companies and agents from the entire value chain, from collection, classification, treatment, and recovery, even second life of some materials. Another instrument interesting is the Collaborative Rng Projects. This is non-refundable grants with maximum intensity vary between 25% or 75% of eligible costs, depending on the type of organization and the type of the projects. And the main projects we finance are with TRL between 3 and 7. And the topics are the minimizing of the waste production, maximum efficiency of the use and resources, and reducing the consumption of raw material, and also to improve the waste treatment processes. Other instruments are the new program Progressio Green, and this program include some different action services, from diagnosis, assessment, grant, and also activities to position to visibilize the importance of this strategic change. Also, we have a catalog for solution for circular economy in Catalonia. This is an interactive catalog with 100 innovative practices in Catalonia in the field of circular economy. We can search for technology or for sector. At this moment, we are working in a new catalog with 100 more solution related to circular economy and the impact in different sector of application, from textile, chemistry, construction, water treatment, and or nature-based solution. Well, and also in a recent study we carry out in Axio about the main technological trends that will impact in the next year in the company. We see that the main technologies that have a great impact are related to green transformation. This is the green corner, circularity, bioeconomy, blue economy, and the capture and storage of and reuse of CO2. There are an important technological trends that will impact in the business fabric in the next year. But if we see the others emerging technology that will have a great impact, such as hydrogen, batteries, semiconductors, chemical recycling, catalysis and biocatalysis, urban mining, that there are no specific in this green transformation corner, but also they are related to chemistry. And with advances in chemistry, they will not take place. So the chemical industry has the double challenge to, in one hand, to be the vector of transformation to other sectors, but also to be circulated, transformed itself. We want to explain you some success stories. We pick up some of them. One, in one hand, we have Dioma. Dioma is a scientific research group of the University of Barcelona in the Department of Material Science and Physical Chemistry, and they work with different fields and related to chemical to circular economy, from environmental or energy, and even in construction. We can highlight some of the projects. One of them is the sustainable development of alkali activated cements from municipal waste incinerator, bottom ash, and they can use as a tile or urban furniture. They work with companies related to waste treatment, like Tradeve, but also with companies related to design of this urban furniture, like Escofet. Other project I like very much is the use of magnesium bioproducts to recover phosphorus for wastewater treatment. And this is a trend to transform wastewater treatment plant to a fabric to recover some materials or even to produce biogas. Other products could be the obtain some materials as additive for cement, for concrete, in order to prevent the shrinkage. Other products, other project we can highlight here is this made by Leitat. Leitat is a technological center, the Catalan Technological Center, with more than 100 years of experience working in technology and in innovation. And this is a very interesting project, also related to waste water treatment plant, and use them to obtain biogas using this bioelectrochemical assisted anaerobic digester. This project work from the pilot-based demo plan, and then the technology validation in a real plan. At this moment, the project is with Terrell Seas, and the results are very interesting. And this is a new way to obtain biogas from waste treatment plant. Other project, this is very interesting because it's very original, is the use the project called Insecton, and is the use of different types of insects to valorization urban bio-waste and agri-food products. They use the different types of insect just to digest this kind of organic waste in order to obtain different materials for different application. They use some different insect for every kind of type of waste, and to obtain different application. And the application could be for nutraceutical and pharma, for vegetal nutrition, for textile, fertilizer, or for chemistry. And the last one I want to share with you is the Coplanta. The Coplanta will be the first plant in Spain to produce circular methanol from treated urban waste and from the eco park. They will be located in a petrochemical contest. In Tarragona, and the facility will produce 240 kilotons a year of methanol and recover a big part of the carbon no recyclable materials, and also reduce the production of CO2. Coplanta is a molecular recycling is a joint venture between Suez. It's a company expert in environmental services. Repsol is a petrochemical company, and Enerchem is a company from Canada and is a pioneer in this molecular recycler. I will highlight that this Coplanta was one of the 7 projects chosen by the European Bank of Investment to support them, and I think it's a good idea it's a good example to start to reuse urban waste to produce methanol and other kind of chemical products. Well, so quickly, but this is a quick overview of these initiatives that we are developing here in Catalonia, and some success stories. We share our presentation to the organizers, so you can find the contact details in the presentation if you are interested in some specific activities. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Maria Dolores. It's always very interesting to hear from Catalonia. Every year you come up with new ideas, new projects, and the development of very, very interesting project with nice, let's say, direction or overview from the region, or is tools like Axio that works very, very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So now let's pass to another best practice, which will be presented us by Miss Agnieszka Zdanovic, sorry, Vice President of the Waste Management and Recycling Cluster from Poland. We see you. Now we wait for your presentation.
Good afternoon. Yes. Yes, thank you. May I ask Monica for showing my presentation, because I have some issue with my connection and I have to change my computer, and there is a lot of issue with this application for me. So I send my presentation. I don't know if it's possible, but if yes, please. I don't know if it's possible, but if yes, please help me.
I think Monica is doing.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Monica. And I'm sorry for this mess. I'm sorry for. First of all, thank you for invitation. For us, it's great honor to be with you and join this expert group. So and of course, cooperation with ECRN also is a great honor. And we started from the good practices, I think, because last month we with Donald made some from because made some
Agnieszka, your sound is very bad. May
made
I
some
ask you?
problem. I think what we something what we join us and for years and for years for cooperation. So thank you very much. Cooperation. So thank you very much. I would like to maybe I'm stop my video. How about now? Is better? Because
Agnieszka, your audio is very bad. I don't know why. Can you try to speak again without the video? Oh. I don't hear you. No, no, no. I think we could go forward and see if we can improve the connection of Agnieszka and ask Mattia Adani to take over and to do his presentation while we try to solve this problem. Mattia Adani, CEO of Novalchimica. I know this project very well. We tried as ECRN to help him to develop his project, and I'm proud that he's going forward. Also, thanks to a little help of ECRN. Please, Mattia.
Yes, Volker, thank you very much for the invitation and for giving us the opportunity once again to share our project. BRX is a project of circular economy. So the name itself, it means biomasses recycling and extraction. That's what BRX stands for. Our vision is to a world where paper is not made out of trees and plastic is fully biodegradable. And this is what we are doing. What we aim is to develop new ways to manufacture locally. When I mean locally, I mean in Europe, cellulose and chitin. Cellulose and chitin. Cellulose is the structural elements of plants. We all know that, and they have many applications. Chitin is less known, is the structural elements of insects. It was the shells of this insect is made of. Both are polymers, which is the name we use for plastics. They share with plastic some of the characteristics. It can be shaped and molded in many forms. They have plenty of applications. What they do not share with plastic is that cellulose and chitin, they've been living in equilibrium with our globe for millions of years. They're the two biopolymers more abundant on the Earth's surface, and so the idea is to try to use them to substitute plastics and plastic applications. The production of cellulose and chitin is now unsustainable for a serious reason that we'll comment after. What we do, in fact, what our team is doing, we are working on a little known stream of biotech, which is the one that regards deep eutectic solvents. I'm not going into the chemistry of it too much, but you have to think of salts, but that are liquid at the ambient temperature. So they're stable mixtures of positive and negative ions. For that reasons, they can they have a high solvent capacity. And in fact, many teams around the world, they're mapping DESs against several applications. In fact, we found a class of deep eutectic solvents that can extract cellulose and chitin from biomasses for a negative extraction. Basically, everything else gets solved except cellulose that then precipitates. So the process itself is very simple. So we simply mix biomasses with our solvent, and then the solvent can be, the cellulose precipitates, the solvent can be reused many times and until it gets saturated. The solvent itself is biodegradable. In fact, we make it with the same material it is used to make feed for poultry. In fact, you can eat the solvent as well if you want. So that's the idea. And what we have been doing, in fact, we have already in the stage, we already manufactured paper. In fact, this what you see in the picture is what was manufactured by, let's say, a large paper corporation, European, that has our samples, and they've managed to mix our cellulose that we currently manufacture from spent or citrus waste. So in the moment we are targeting industrial wastes, not really waste that you collect around, but waste that are available at industrial level. Typically, citrus waste, we have 17 million tons in Europe that are wasted every year of citrus. Most of the citrus used to make juices, not to be eaten. And all of this is simply thrown away. We also target the brewer spent beer, what is left over, no? After beer production, you can go in beer factories and take it out. And clearly there is the aim of many is to simply to use hay, grass, simple grass, to extract cellulose from grass rather than from plants. What we seen that with our cellulose we because the fiber is shorter than the fiber of wood, simply because the plants have less time to grow long fibers, we can mix for sure up to 20%. So we can substitute up to 20% of cellulose sourced by trees with cellulose sourced by other wastes. This is what we are doing. Where we come from, Folco mentioned, in fact, this idea and this project out of an innovation ecosystem, I would say, with many pillars. In fact, there is my company, which I call an innovative SME, because we tend to follow several projects. But also there is a venture and early stage capital. The project is incubated in Milan's Polytechnic, the private part, and we've been benefited by the support of private industry association, Assolombarda, local and regional institution, and European. Region Lombardy and ECRN, as was mentioned, and we also got, thanks to ECRN, in the Smart Specialization platform of the European Commission. So I was saying, for us, cooperation is important, especially when you want to achieve radical change. And why this is important for us? I mean, we are very ambitious. We think this can provide, let's say, a potential solution to some of global strategic challenges, especially for Europe. When you think, for example, of cellulose, the amount cellulose, the demand for cellulose grows, has very strong fundamentals. It grows like the global GDP, and in fact, it's growing more because our fight against bioplastics is. And in fact, even the EU is moving with the single-use directives, we are basically substituting plastic objects with paper objects. So basically, the demand for cellulose is growing even more. There is a little problem that basically the entirety of cellulose around the world is manufactured from woods, plants, and which are in forests. But forests, they're inherently land limited in the sense that the amount of space that we can dedicate for forests in the world is fixed. In fact, is decreasing because of global warming and climate change. So the supply is inherently fixed and the demand is growing. So many, for example, the multinational we are working, the issue there is not only that the prices are creeping up, no, but also at a certain point, people really are concerned there won't be enough material around for everybody. And as we look at Europe, Europe is really the center for paper production because we have a lot of know-how. We are the top of the class, but in a sense, we are also small. There is a production of 300 million tons worldwide. Europe would be around 50. So even though we have most of a high-end production, we are not that big in raw materials. So the idea of substituting up to 20% of 20% of global production using not forests will be equal to create the same amount that we manufacture in Europe, using different sources and not using forests. The same thing is for chitin. Chitin is less known. Just to give you an example, is the most promising material for bioplastics. In fact, if you look at chitin, the shell of insects, it is a material to the same, say, mechanical resistance of aluminum, but weighs half as much and also protects them from bacteria and viruses. It means that nature has been able to manufacture something that is far better than what we've been able with our technology so far. The only problem with that you can also only make it using shells now from East Asia, shrink shells farms. And once you have to extract it, the current process is that you have to use the strong acids and bases, which then are thrown out in the rivers. So basically, you have no production of chitin in Europe and North America, in fact, because the current extraction process wouldn't be considered, let's say, socially and environmentally acceptable from us. So our process, in fact, allows to extract chitin with a sustainable process, and so to enable its production in Europe, just because the process will be, let's say, acceptable environmentally and socially. We'll be still left with the problem of how can we compete. If you look at the picture down below, is how, in fact, chitin is currently extracted in East Asia, and clearly, even if we have a better process, we'll be in any case left to now to can we compete with, let's say, with countries that allow that. I mean, that is an acidic bath, by the way, no? So it's that's a problem. But basically, what we can do is to unlock the production of chitin direct in Europe using European sources. For example, there is a growing closed-loop shrimp farming in Europe, and where we could collect, let's say, shrimp shells. And also very interesting for us, the insect farming. In fact, chitin is a byproduct of insect farming. It's a waste in the insect farming business, but we could collect it and use it for European production. So where we are at, we have completed market validation. So we have run an industrial pilot with manufacture, in fact, cellulose using citrus. We sent it to several potential customers. Some of the customers, they're certified the fact that they can use the material. And now we are basically discussing industrial scale-up. So this is where we are. And this is what we are doing. And as said, I think I want to get back to what Yolanda said before. In fact, what we have now is not that it's wrong. It was okay in the past, but the world around us has changed. So now it is time for radical change. Time is up to think about radical change, but to do this, in fact, we need to build consensus and work together. And this, I think, if you want think big, we need to think it together. Otherwise, it won't work. And this is it. Clearly, I'm ready for any question. As Folco knows, I could speak hours for this, but I have to limit myself.
Thank you, Mattia. It's always amazing hearing you. Just to say a little anecdote to all the attendees, it's very interesting for me that Mattia closing talking about bioplastic, and the institute where the research was made in Milan is the institute called Giulio Natta, which is the father of plastic back in the 50s. So from an era to another era, we're still on plastic, but now the modern one, the 4.0, thanks to the idea of Mattia and the research of Politecnico. So that is interesting and nice. And okay, that's what I wanted to share with you. Let's now move to, unfortunately, probably the last speaker, because we are still having problem with Agnieszka. And so let's go to Mr. Frank Schaap from the Camelot. He's Director of Business Development there, and they will give us some interesting information of what's going on in Camelot. And I would like to bring the last words of Mattia to arrive to Camelot. Camelot is in a fantastic position because it's the heart of a triangle between the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany, where chemistry is one of the heart of the development, and Camelot is one of these, is the pillar of this development. So please, Frank, I leave you the floor.
Thank you, Folco. Do you see the presentation?
Fortunately, for the moment, yes. Let's see how it's going on.
Okay, thanks. Well, also thanks for the invitation and the patience for the people remaining in this call. I have to apologize. My voice is not too bad, not so good because I have a cold, not Corona, but I'll give it a try. I'm like Folco said, Director of Business Development at Camelot, and I'm focusing on companies who fit with our strategy, but that will become clear in a minute. First, a very short introduction on what is Camelot for those who do not know. Camelot is the second largest integrated chemical site in Europe. We're talking about 8 square kilometers. Only the site around BASF in Ludwigshafen is a little bit bigger, 10 square kilometers. We have a campus, Brightlands Camelot campus, where the province of Limburg is one of the major shareholders. And in this campus, there are about 3,000 knowledge workers working on sustainable chemistry and materials. That's the little red circle here in the northwest of the picture. The rest of it is the industrial park, where the factories are located, varying from naphtha crackers to ammonia plants, fertilizer plants, and a lot of specialized polymer plants. Once this was a DSM location in the previous century, DSM divested many activities and now the number of companies, including startups, is approximately 200. Altogether, we have a turnover of more than 10 billion euros, and we produce on an annual basis 7.5 billion kilo of product. So we used to say for every person on this earth, we produce 1 kilo of product. I'm sure that in Europe, many people have a tenth of kilos of our product in their homes or cars. Camelot is located in the center of the so-called ARA cluster, Antwerp, Rotterdam, Rhine and Ruhr area, which is the largest chemical cluster in the world. Camelot is in the center and is physically connected by pipeline, waterways, rail, highways, and there is a lot of interaction of goods. 40% of the chemical production in Europe is taking place in this cluster. And here you see the value chains we are in with our products. I can tell a lot about the different pictures, but in view of time, I will not do this. I quickly go to our vision, which was created in 2016 with the largest companies at Camelot. And we want to become the most safe, sustainable, and competitive chemical site in Europe. We have a very concrete plan, and this is basically the conceptual view of that plan, how we become completely carbon neutral. Just a quick explanation. On the left-hand side, you see the Camelot system. We put all the companies in one system, you could say. And when you look at a high level, you see 3 flows getting in: electricity, natural gas, and naphtha. It's important to understand that the natural gas is huge. It's 1.5 billion cubic meters of natural gas per year, and 2/3 of that quantity is used as a raw material to make hydrogen. And from the hydrogen, we make ammonia. And ammonia is, as you know, the building block of many other chemicals like fertilizers, caprolactam, acrylonitrile. The other feedstock is naphtha, an oil distillate, also a huge quantity, 4 million ton. That's about 100,000 barrels per day. And that's cracked in the naphtha crackers of SABIC. And the main products are ethylene and propylene, which are used, of course, for polyethylene and polypropylene, the most used plastic in the world. You see a lot of CO2 emission. We are in the Netherlands the second largest CO2 emitter, industrial CO2 emitter after Tata Steel, steel manufacturer. And in 2018, there was a small circular stream, you could say, based on waste plastic. I come back to that in a minute. That is mechanical recycling. Where do we want to stand in 2050 or so much earlier? What you see is no fossil CO2 emission anymore. How do we achieve that? By replacing all natural gas and naphtha by renewable feedstock. The major part of that will be based on organic waste, plastic waste, but also other organic waste. But we also will use biomass. And in addition to that, we will electrify as much as possible our chemical processes. So the electricity consumption will increase significantly. And if you do that, then we benefit from the intense integration of the chemical side, because we make the feedstock renewable upstream, and all the plants later in the downstream in the value chain benefit from the making the feedstock circular. I'm responsible, together with my team, by attracting companies who fit in this transition. This is a picture of our pipeline of January 1st. You see 108 projects, 108 companies who fit in this schedule. So you see the highest number of projects is the 41 projects based on waste, making circular feedstock. but we also have 6 projects based on biomass and so on. And now something I'm very proud of, because if all those projects will materialize, you're talking about 5.8 billion euros in capex investment. Of course, this will not all happen, not all projects will succeed, but new projects will come in, and the 21 most advanced projects, they will materialize in the next 2 years. They are already representing 1.8 billion euro capex. And also we need a lot of new people. You see 4,000, almost 4,000 people for these 108 projects. Now some concrete examples in the arena of circular feedstock, because that's the heart of the matter today. This is the company which was already at Camelot in 2016, actually. This is Quality Circular Polymers. 2 shareholders, Suez, already mentioned before, and Lyondell Basel, an American materials company. It was a startup in 2014. It was created. At that time, it was the largest startup in the Netherlands. And what is very unique is that QCP is making near virgin quality recycled polymer based on polyethylene and polypropylene. Because it's mechanical recycling, it cannot be used in food packaging, but it is used in premium brands of Unilever, like shampoo, but also in Samsonite suitcases and buggies for babies. So we are very bored. Sebic and Plastic Energy is a next example. They are focusing on chemical recycling, and it was announced in January last year that Sebic and Plastic Energy are going to build a pyrolysis plant where plastic waste, polyolefin plastic waste, post-consumer waste is transferred into oil, pyrolysis oil, which will be cracked in a naphtha cracker instead of naphtha. The plant is being built right now. If you would visit Camelot, you see cranes and the big building. Later this year, the plant will be started up. Here you see the plant in Spain of Plastic Energy. The plant at Camelot will be about 4 times as big. Another nice example is Black Bear Carbon, a startup company or a scale-up company. They exist already more than 10 years, but they are ready now to build the first industrial plant at Camelot. What they do is they pyrolysis of waste tires, used car tires. In principle, the process is the same as what I just described. Here you see it in this scheme. Waste plastic or waste tires go into the pyrolysis plant, and what do you get? Oil, a gas mixture, and if you use tires, also carbon black. And what do you do with it? The oil goes into the naphtha cracker, like I said, and you get ethylene and propylene and other products which are chemically the same as when you make them from naphtha. The gas we use to make hydrogen for ammonia production. The carbon black will be sold into the market. If there are quality problems, we can use it as a feedstock as well to make, for instance, methanol. This is the last example I want to share with you. I'm very proud of this example because I think it's really unique. It was made public in November 2020 in a press release. It's a project developed by RWE, the largest energy company in Europe. Under the radar screen, they developed the FUREC process, where they use municipal waste, rest waste, which in our region is collected in gray containers. And this is actually the feedstock of this process. And they make circular and biogenic hydrogen at a very large scale. The plant, which is foreseen at Camelot, will produce 50 kiloton, so 50 kiloton of hydrogen, circular hydrogen. And if you had to make that by electrolysis, you need to have a 700 megawatt electrolyzer. And this size of electrolyzer is not available yet. Now, the strength of Camelot is that all these initiatives come together. Here I ranked the QCP, Plastic Energy, and RWE, but also some other plastic recycling initiatives at Camelot based on the requirements you have on the plastic waste input. So QCP obviously has the highest requirement on the quality because they want to reach this near virgin quality of recycled material. But if they have off-spec material, it definitely can be used by Plastic Energy to make oil to be used by SEBIC. And if you have off-spec of side streams here of organic nature, it can all be used by RWE and be produced into circular hydrogen and CO2. And now the last example, in the sense I've explained how SEBIC can make circular propylene based on plastic waste, how OCR Nitrogen can make circular ammonia based on municipal waste, and another company at Camelot, which is physically connected to SEBIC and OCR Nitrogen, they don't have to do anything. They just take the circular propylene and ammonia as feedstock, and they make circular acrylonitrile. And that's a building block for ABS, which is used in Lego, it's used in diapers, it's used for carbon fibers and a lot of other products. And Encore was in 2019 the first company in the world offering industrial quantities of, they call it now eco-nitrile, which is a renewable acrylonitrile based on circular or biogenic propylene and ammonia. So these were all opportunities. You asked me what are the challenges Camelot is facing when you focus onto waste as a renewable feedstock. I asked some of the companies, and here you see the list. I quickly go through it. Europe is definitely not yet a uniform landscape with respect to waste, and therefore it's not a level playing field. And it becomes increasingly difficult to transport large amounts of plastic waste across the borders. And therefore we run the risk that recycling becomes a very local or regional activity, whereas you see the huge quantities we need as a chemical complex. We need huge quantities of waste, definitely also imported from other countries. Recycling policies number 3 is that need to be consistent with other objectives like CO2 emission reduction. So the RED 2 and Fit for 52, they need to take recycling into account, and they need to be attuned with other circular objectives. There is room for improvement. And for instance, the hydrogen made by RWE in the FUREC process, they should be considered as the sustainable hydrogen made by electrolyzers. The hydrogen made by RWE is also much cheaper than the hydrogen currently made by electrolysis. Well, we face also knowledge levels of important stakeholders. Of course, governments are extremely important, and the transition to a circular economy is so complex that you definitely need an integral approach, and politicians and policymakers, they need to be extremely knowledgeable and understand what is useful and what is not useful. Also citizens, they need to be educated. What does it mean to go to a circular economy? Because that's the next point, acceptation of transport of, for instance, a large amounts of waste and processing that waste, nobody wants to have it in their backyard. But it's definitely extremely important that we develop locations where we can do that, because that's making the circular feedstock is the basis for the transition of the chemical industry. And the last point is, that's also related to knowledge. To compare the different processes and to qualify the different waste treatment processes. You need to evaluate and rank them based on efficiency and cost effectiveness, and really compare them on an equal base in a similar scope. That was the most important thing I want to say. What I just said about the Camelot development and transition is predominantly privately financed, but it's an important part of a broader program, which is the Camelot Circular Hub in the province of Limburg. We developed with a lot of stakeholders, also private and public stakeholders, the so-called Circular Economy Action Plan, and I'm very proud to be part of that. So we are on our way to implement our vision, and if there are questions later on after this webinar, here are my contact details. Thank you very much.
So Frank, thank you very much. Once again, you showed us how much we need much more Europe, but much less burden. And that, I think, is one of the most important challenge we have in front of us. We as public stakeholders, private partners, bringing to us in order to advocate in front of the European Union this way to be more European and less bureaucratic. That's, exactly. I think, is one of the message you passed us, like some of the other participants, beside the fact that Camelot is one of the miracle in Europe because of the collaboration among the three nations, collaboration not only with the three nations, because also Mattia that spoke before you as Camelot, as Brightlands, as partner in the development of his project. So that's the best and the nice part of Europe we would like to have. And we hope we can help to develop this part and to make leaner and lighter the other one. Or not leaner and lighter, but easier. That's the thing we need. And more coherent from one to another. I see Mattia, do you want to add something on that?
Yeah, just I wanted to make a point. I think I support, say, highest standard, no? Especially as an SME, because highest standard goes for sophisticated consumer, which is good for people that want to innovate. The problem that we have, that in some cases our processes, they're even tougher than the United States. For example, some chitin applications, they've already been approved by the FDA years ago, but they're still not approved by the EFSA. And why should ask what's the problem? And the result is that Americans, they can develop application for some products. We still cannot, because as an SME, I will be asked myself to basically foot the bill of approving something that once it is approved, the first thing we would allow Americans and Chinese importers to flood the market in Europe, no? And so this is something that it is a problem, because even though REACH was built with the idea of improving innovation, in fact, in some cases doing exactly the opposite. No, I wanted to make this all those who can make the point. Now, sometimes we start doing things with the best purpose, objective, and we found out that we've managed to get something else, no? And this happens in the life of the business every day, no? This is not a problem, but we do face the reality and adjust as quick as we can. This is the point I would like to make, no?
Thank you, Mattia. It's very important because that is a sort of dumping that it's difficult to manage. And so we should recognize that and maybe not put taxes or on barriers in general production. But if you do not have certain environmental qualification on your production from China or from other countries, we should tax that more in order to protect the fact that we are more developed, but even more strict in our legislation. And so we cannot ask our industries to be more safe, have more cost, but not protect them in any way.
Yeah, no, that's the point. If you ask me higher standard, and I am happy, to apply them, but then we have to find a way to protect us from those those standards, they're not even interested in applying them, and because otherwise there's no solution. I would say, or it's very, very difficult. No, will only be left to very small niches, which is okay, but we are not aiming at a real target here.
We are here to make the Europe under any point of view bigger and stronger, not weaker with some excellence point. So, Maria Dolores, I see you appeared, so maybe you also have something to add on that.
No, I agree with you. I think the knowledge we say today is very high, and it's very good to share this experience and this knowledge. But probably your point, you go to the point. This is the problem is how we can harmonize the different initiative and how we can be stronger with all this knowledge and all this talent we have in the different places in Europe. I absolutely agree with you and with the other partners.
Okay, I would like you all, thank you very much. I again make my apologies to Agnieszka, who was not able to speak. Our fault from technical point of view. I will thank anyway and anyhow Minister Satin, Vice President of ECRN and Minister for Economy and Education in Limburg, who really would like to talk. But once again, for this technical problem we had today, he was not able to talk, but we have Frank here, who represented very well a part of the job that Minister Sading is managing as a minister. And thank you all very much. Thank all the attendee, thank all the speaker. And as I told you, starting from this afternoon or tomorrow, you can find all the presentation on our website and also the registration of the whole conference. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Have a nice day.